Late night touring. This is a terrifying experience I had more than 10 years ago, when I went out for night touring on a motorcycle that my senior had kept for 6 months. It was a little after 2 a.m. when I arrived at Katsura City after departing from Chiba City. On the way there, we took the main road with many cars, so we frequently passed cars going in the same direction and oncoming cars, but on the way back, we chose a mountain road with few cars. We drove leisurely on the national road from Katsura to Kamogawa, and entered prefectural Route 81 around Amatsu Kaminato. This road is all paved, but it is a lot of fun to ride a motorcycle on it as it passes through some mountain roads and narrow forest-like paths. It was a favorite course that I had used many times during the daylight hours. I heard that they have now built a wider and better tunnel, but at the time I was using it, there was literally only a narrow tunnel that was hand-drilled, and it was extremely scary to go through it late at night. The tunnel was so narrow that a slightly larger car could have scraped the ceiling or sides of it, and it was not well lit. It was in a place where even if an accident occurred, no one would notice it until the next morning. I had never seen anything ghostly before, and I had also heard people say that if you never saw a ghost before you came of age, you never saw one after that, so I didn't have the slightest fear of the nighttime road in the psychic sense. But I was thinking that I might be able to get out of that tunnel there. So I guess I was only concerned about whether or not I could get through that place without a hitch. Not far from the tunnel, we passed through a winding, narrow road, and after crossing an extremely narrow road that looked like a landslide being repaired, a straight line of about 30 meters appeared. The headlights on high beam illuminate the parapet of a bridge at the end of the road. The moment I saw this bridge, I had a strong sense of foreboding. I unconsciously braked hard and fast, like a panic brake. The road surface was somewhat wet, so the rear wheel slid, but the motorcycle came to a stop in the shortest possible distance. The headlights' illumination dimmed slightly, and the light and darkness repeated in time with the rhythm of the idling. The road that vaguely appears ahead of the bridge turns sharply to the right just before the bridge, so that from my position, I am looking at the bridge from the side. The bridge extends to the far right and is shaded by the woods, so only a small portion of it can be seen. Although the illumination level is lowered, the area illuminated by the headlights is as bright as if a flash had been fired. On the other hand, the area outside of that range was shrouded in darkness, a world of blackness that seemed to refuse the entry of any living person. Just before this bridge, dim streetlights were placed at moderate intervals, but for some reason, no streetlights were visible in this part of the bridge. Are the streetlights out of bulbs? I stopped to investigate the cause of my bad feeling, but there was nothing unnatural about the bridge other than the fact that I could not see any streetlights. I put the car in first gear and engaged the clutch. As I began to drive solo, I still felt an overwhelming sense of rejection and could not move forward. I stopped again, but as usual, there was nothing in sight. I looked down at my wristwatch and saw that it was just after 2:30 a.m. I thought about making a U-turn and going back the way I came. But the road was downhill and very narrow, so even with a motorcycle, I would have to turn around several times to make the U-turn. Above all, I felt that I didn't want to be stuck in such a place. It now felt as if my body was screaming to get out of this place with all its might. Ignoring my instinctive aversion, I put it in gear again and pushed forward at full speed. As we approached the bridge, the whole picture became clearer. But I didn't see anything strange. I crossed the bridge in a single bound, and at the end of the crossing, I stopped and looked back. There was still nothing. I remained there for a while, watching the situation, and then turned forward with a sense of relief, wondering what all the excitement I had been feeling up to that point was all about. As I turned to look at it with a startled look, the engine stalled. The headlights caught sight of something white in front of me, and it rapidly faded away. I panicked, screaming in terror at what had just happened. I don't know about other bikes, but the bike I was borrowing had a system where the headlight would go off when the engine stopped dragging, so I was in complete darkness. I groped around for the Kickstarter pedal and started the engine like crazy. Once, twice, 3 times. Only the empty sound of doldrums echoed around us, and there was no sign of the engine starting at all. However, as soon as the engine kicks in, the headlights dimly illuminate and the outline of a person dressed in white is vaguely visible ahead of the headlights. It is probably 5 to 6 meters away. It turned out to be the back of a woman with long hair, dressed in what looked like a white one-piece dress. While looking at it in front of me, I shouted in my mind, "Why didn't you take it?" I opened the throttle a little and kicked hard again. This time, the engine started, but the headlights, which were now firmly lit, revealed an empty space. The white back of the car, which had such a clear sense of presence, had vanished without a trace. I definitely don't want to go near that place, but I'm also afraid to make a U-turn here. I don't think I can even look back in the pitch blackness. Unable to move at all from that spot, I tried desperately to analyze the white shade I had just seen. Even if that thing was really a human being, how is it possible for a woman to be walking alone in such a dark place, on a lonely road like a forest road with nothing around, and at 2:30 a.m.? It seems absolutely impossible that she would be alone without a light. Moreover, standing still on the edge of the road with their backs to us, it did not seem like the work of a living person. Moreover, both sides of the road were like a deep forest, and it seemed unlikely that we would lose sight of it in such a short time, even if we had entered it. As I was stuck there, shivering and unable to go forward or back, I suddenly heard a voice in my ear saying,
"Search with me. I just can't find it."
I clearly heard a vain woman's voice. I thought I heard something after that, but I could no longer sit still. Like a racing rider who gets the green light, I left the place with a tremendous start dash and ran away without looking back. After that, I made it home safely without incident, and my physical condition did not change, but I had no idea what the words I heard in my ear at that time meant. As far as I could find on the internet at that time, I could not find any incidents or accidents around that bridge. What on earth had happened in the past? Is she still alone late at night, searching for something she can't find? This is the end of this story. Thank you for listening to the end.